Hey guys, Stephanie with AmericanMuscle.com here with my overview and an install of the Roush cold air intake available for the 2010 to 2014 GT Mustang. This overview is going to cover a few topics with the Roush intake, like what you can expect from this intake, some info about the components and construction, and some info about the install. The install for this is a simple one. It's a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the scale, but I'll get more into that a little later on. The Roush cold air intake is going to be for the S197 GT owners out there that are looking for a cold air intake that is budget friendly and that does not require a tune. Aftermarket cold air intakes are a popular mod, but there are a few different choices out there between Airbox styles and filters. The Roush here is an open element style intake, but it does have this housing which does have a foam hood seal to seal off the air filter. The Roush is going to come with a few pieces. You have your air filter, your MAF tube, clamps, and your Airbox tray with the already installed foam hood seal that I just pointed out. It's going to come with all the necessary hardware that you need to get this intake installed. Now this is a no tune required intake, which means that you can just bolt this thing on and go if you want to. As far as the factory intake goes, it's actually not terrible performance-wise. It's highly functional and it isn't as restrictive as you might think, but what we tend to see is that aftermarket cold air intakes tend to function a little bit better than the factory intake in the upper RPMs and especially after some mods have been completed. The Roush here is one of the more basic designs since it is an open element filter, but it does have that foam seal, a good size filter, and a tray which is going to help it performance-wise. It doesn't have a closed airbox, so if you're looking for that, then you have to check out some of the other options on the site. Like I said, this intake does not require a tune, so it's one of those intake options that you can just bolt on and go if you want to. Normally, an aftermarket intake would require a tune if the MAF housing size is much larger than the factory one, so a computer tune would be required to recalibrate. But in this case, it's not needed because the MAF tube that comes with this intake isn't large enough to require a tune. I will say though, to keep in mind that you're only going to see gains of a few horsepower if you end up not pairing the intake with a tune. Taking a look at some of the components of the intake, the air filter is a reusable oiled filter. It's a high flow filter which is going to help it outperform the stock paper filter, and the oil is used to treat the filter materials to give it a tackiness and give it the filtration abilities that it needs. What's nice about the reusable filter is that you can clean the filter when it's dirty and reinstall and not have to worry about having to purchase a new filter every time. When it comes to the construction of the other components here, you're looking at a thermoplastic, which is going to give structural stability and durability to the intake. Now I will say that I personally think this intake looks better under the hood than your stock intake does, but if you're looking for a show car shine, there are some other options that might look a little better or be flashier than this one right here. Looking at the price for this intake, you can expect to pay close to the $200 mark for the intake. If we compare that to some of the other options, this is less expensive than some of those flashier cold air intakes that I just mentioned. It's one of the more budget-friendly options that are available, but I always suggest to check out some of the other options while you're looking around. As for the install, it's nothing too difficult, and like I mentioned earlier, the intake will come with all of the items that you need to complete the install. It'll take about a half hour or an hour tops, and I'm going to call it a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the scale. All you really need to complete the install is a few basic hand tools. So this is probably one of the easiest mods that you can tackle with your new Mustang. All that you really need to do is remove the factory airbox. You need to disconnect the airbox from the inner fender and remove the inlet tube from the air filter and disconnect your MAF as well. The entire MAF sensor wiring harness will come out and you're going to reuse that with your new setup. The Roush installs nearly the same way that the factory airbox came out, but you need to build it up before you install it. The MAF sensor transfers over, the filter goes onto the MAF tube, and the air filter assembly will bolt up to the airbox itself. After that, you can attach the assembly to the car, and the airbox is going to install pretty much the same way as installing a factory intake. Wrapping things up here, this intake from Roush does not require a tune. It has a reusable filter that's easy to clean and reinstall when the time comes. It comes with the necessary hardware, and it's easy to install. This intake is also going to look better under the hood than the factory airbox, and you can check it out more for yourself online right here at AmericanMuscle.com.